Good evening. Hey, Sean.
Andrew says, Utah, no frozen pipes. Well, Andrew, you are lucky.
Thailand.
Texas did not deal well with that storm last week.
Miss Bangkok.
Normally what happens in Texas is you get a day where it's cold and it drops below freezing, but to have several days in a row that continued on and knock out all the power grids. We didn't have electricity for about 5 days. It was rough.
Thought about all this crap behind in New York.
And water, no water. Phones, no connection. Yeah, couldn't escape to anything. In fact, our water is still kind of messed up.
Yeah, there's still several places where you have to boil it or you just can't use it, period.
Yeah, a lot of restaurants still, you can't even. We went to one today, you still couldn't get a drink.
Canada, eh? How are things in the Great White North? You guys almost like to have it cold.
Yeah, but you never lost power.
That's true.
Lived in New York for 11 years, never lost power. Lived in Milwaukee for 5 years, never lost power.
Louisiana.
That's
We're going
rough.
for some good crawfish tomorrow. I can't wait.
I gave him a choice between crawfish or barbecue. He chose crawfish. Yeah, I think it definitely was worse than a hurricane. Oh, in stores too. We still can't get stuff. He sent me a list of stuff to go to the store. I just got milk after like 2 weeks. I finally just got my kids milk. But he gave me a list yesterday, and I was like, they don't have any of this stuff. It's taken a while to get everything back in and stocked up. I would have put the dog on a hamster wheel to generate power, whatever it took. They were pretty cold too. Thankfully, we have a gas fireplace so that we could kind of huddle around that, at least get a little warmth. Yeah, no, I don't think you want to combine those two things together.
Penn State.
Mississippi still under a bull water notice. Yeah, most of the places still here in Texas are too. Yeah, we had brown water at one point coming out. Oh, they were showing a mile-long line at Waterbury. Yes, it was insane. So if people were literally because you couldn't get food. You couldn't get food in your grocery stores. You couldn't cook, and so people were going to Whataburger. And yesterday was the first day he was able to get me a tea because they hadn't had drinks.
But I did go the day before, but I just couldn't get drinks.
And then one time we tried to go a couple days ago, and you could only get burgers, no fries, and no drinks. So it's like Whataburger rations. Oh, Carrie's back in Texas too. I don't think I told Chris that.
No, you didn't.
Aim
low.
Now that I've had power, I've been working nonstop.
I sent her a meme for you to send to him. I don't know if you ever got around to sending it.
That must have been a long time ago. We haven't had phone connections. I'm sure you sent it to me a long time ago. I remember you doing it, but it was a while back. Okay, so we're going to get started. Let me see if I can remember this. It's been 3 weeks. If you'd like to ask a question, you can drop it into the chat line, and I'll be pulling questions. I try to go in order, but then I do kind of skip around too, but I always try to scroll up to the top and grab stuff. So don't despair if it's been a few minutes and the question hasn't been asked and answered yet. We're going to try to get through as many as possible since it's been a while. You can get a guaranteed response if you donate, and you can also just donate because you love SAS. And It's been a rough week.
Yes,
Um,
brutal week.
we have a link on smallarmsolutions.com up in the right-hand corner, I believe it is, or no, it's in the middle. If you scroll down, it's for donor box, and they only take about 3% of the donation, whereas Google takes 30% of the donation, which is a lot. But either way, glad you could join us. We're trying to get through as many as possible. I'm also going to put that link in the chat line right there in case you want to use it. Just put your question in the comment section, and I'll get an email, and you'll skirt the line of questions. We have a couple tonight. One of them is from Kirk, and I believe Chris might need a little bit more specificity on what you're asking. He's in the market for a big bore AR-15 to use as an anti-thing platform, and he probably is going to want to know what you mean by anti-thing,
Yeah.
because you say we have no pigs up here, and I use bolt action for deer. What make caliber would you go with? And criteria includes reliability and ability to use an AR-15 mag if possible.
Well, for the most part, you talk about critters. Obviously, if you're looking at something medium gain, 6.8 SPC, 6.5 Grendel. Obviously, for deer, for gators and such, you certainly can look at the 450 Bushmaster, which is a good one. Which under normal situations, ammunition is available too. There's not really a specific manufacturer. It just pretty much depends on what platform you want. The 6.8 SPC probably is one of the most universal. And there's only one, for as far as I'm concerned, 6.8 SPC, and that's LWRC. Their 6.8s are the best ones that are out there. The 450 Bushmasters, I mean, there's any number of companies who make good ones of those. Some of the newer calibers too, 6mm arc is quite nice. Even the 300 Legend is a good one as well. So really you have to narrow down what particular animal you're trying to kill, and then you can sort of hone in on what's better.
Kevin on DonorBox, thank you, Kevin. And Kevin was also the one I talked to you earlier about, who wanted basically a very detailed breakdown of what was it, how bullets come out of guns, and
the
engineering, the cycle of operations.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to know, what are your thoughts on ultrasonic cleaners? Do they cause cavitation damage or pitting on the gun parts, or are they safe for convenient cleaning?
The only thing I've tended to use ultrasonic cleaners for was, for the most part, suppressor cleaning. You definitely have to understand your chemicals, because if you have the wrong chemicals, you can certainly strip off finishes. That's something you really need to watch out for. Also, you use one chemical to strip, and you got to lubricate. So it's not something I really ever got into for as far as cleaning anything other than suppressors. I never really had a need. The last time I really heard any major use was when guns would come back from overseas. For instance, Iraq and Afghanistan, guns that were covered in sand. That was the best way to clean them, was sand out of them. Little environmental issues too, for as far as like the lead in their disposal of some of the water. Some people pour on the drains, others are more environmental savvy. For the most part, to me, the best thing I like using them for is suppressor cleaning, especially for suppressors that you can't take apart.
Well, thank you, Greg. It's staying warm.
Thank you.
It was almost 80 today, so thankfully we've thawed out now. Jonathan wants to know, any resources available to determine how many Colt 723s are on the transferable NFA registry?
The only way to get that would be through Colt archives. And I don't know if they will be able to run it like that. I don't know if their search engines allow them to do anything other than serial numbers, not by particular models. They may. But something tells me Colt probably would not want to give that information out to anybody, for as far as letting them know how many guns they have produced. I think you would have a very hard time finding that information out. Any kind of realistic numbers.
She wants to know if you've shot any more 6mm arc.
I have not. I've been trying to get some more ammunition for it. I only had 200 rounds. I did shoot. We did get some. Did get a good group. I do want to do more with it. We are sort of very heavily backed up at the moment. I probably have 8 or 10 guns here, which I've done range footage that I have to do. We have to do the tabletops. I did order some more ammunition from Hornady, but as you can imagine right now, ammunition is very, very scarce. I was fortunate enough today to get a nice shipment in from Jeff Hoffman at Black Hills to help me out. Very, very difficult to get. We're sort of at a crisis level right now for 9mm and 7.62 by 39. So that's what I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're behind because of last week's
Power outage.
Texas shutdown. But been frantic paced since the power came back. Glock video went out yesterday. I hope you guys liked that. Fortunately, we had filmed that right before
Yeah.
everything went out, so I had that one ready to go. I just needed, internet and electricity so that I could use my computer. But we sat down and filmed yesterday too, and I've posted on the feed for YouTube that you will have a new video out this weekend too. That will be an update on CZ purchasing Colt. So we don't want to give it away. We'll just save it for the video. But it's a good video, and then he did a very detailed dive on the.
Yes, that's what I think you guys are going to find interesting. It was a sort of a combination of how to make a AR in 7.62 by 39 work for as far as reliability and feeding and ignition. And then we talk in detail about the Black Rifle Arms capped 7.62 by 39 upper. But a good half of it is specifically on how to make a 7.62 by 39 function properly in an AR platform, whether internal or external piston.
Yeah, that one filmed really well too. So that should be good. And then next week we will sit down and do some mass
Another
filming.
crime series coming up too.
Yes. Was there panic buying near us? Yes. Everybody emptied out the stores, and there was no trucks being able to come in and bring anything. We're still recovering. What's your opinion on the Army and GSW and the future of battle rifles?
Well, again, I think I talked about this quite a bit. Until I actually see procurement start, I'm not really going to get too interested. The reality is they're trying to make one rifle that's going to serve every scenario, and it doesn't work. If you look at the new 6mm rifles, you're looking at a same cartridge length basically as the M14 or there's a 7.62 NATO or AR-10 or M110. So you're going to be having a full size, basically battle rifle cartridge for the most part in 6mm to use in every scenario. And I think that when you're in close quarter battles, that's going to be a negative. You're better off with an M4. Will it be better for you in longer range scenarios like Afghanistan? Yes. But to me, I really don't believe that the project's worthwhile. I think going with potentially a 6.5 Creedmoor sniper rifle and machine guns with better barrels, and staying with 5.56 for a close quarter battle for a standard infantry rifle is a far better way. You have to know where your operation is going to be. I just don't think that you're going to find one rifle that's going to do both and both good. It's like CLP. You can have one that does clean, lubricate, and preserve, but none of them excellent. You do trade offs to try to have the commonality. So you're never getting the best weapon for the individual situation.
Joey on Donor Box. Thank you, Joey. Says, are striker fired pistols inherently more reliable than hammer fired? Hammer fired has more parts that can break, but also can overcome light primer strikes within another pull of the trigger. Is it largely a wash, or can you say one is more reliable than the other?
I think it's really a wash because overall, the benefit that you get with the hammer fired is that double strike capability. Now, when you look in reality of how often you have misfires, is it really that much of a benefit? Probably not. It doesn't happen as often, but that's the only benefit I see to hammer fired. Striker fired, for my opinion, I like having the same trigger pull every time. And there's various ways you do that with a striker fired pistol. If you look at parts, you have parts that are added to the striker mechanism that are taken away from the hammer mechanism. But you do definitely have less parts, so the guns are easier to maintain. So that's definitely a benefit to the striker fired as well. You just have to be a little more careful on your ammunition because again, if you get really hard primers, all the striker fired guns aren't going to fire it. So I think it fairly is a wash. The double action people like for safety having the longer trigger pull versus the midway with a striker. Um, I think a lot of this comes down to personal opinion and personal preference. Both are proven systems.
Omar says when Waterburger goes down, you know you have issues. I think that's when you know it's crisis level.
Yes.
I'm getting depressed about the ammo situation. I think a lot of people are. Should I
Yeah.
look into reloading and how difficult and expensive is it? I'm looking to reload 300 Blackout and 5.56.
It's not going to be any different for you because you're going to have a hard time finding primers and projectiles. All the projectiles that normally go for reloading are going to manufacturers for them to load live ammunition. I don't think there's any good situations right now, whether it's buying new or reloading. Um, it's my understanding that primers are really hard to get, propellants hard to get, and so are the projectiles. So I don't think any one's easier than the other.
Watching from a rooftop in Korea. Love that. Did we have backup power? No, we did not. We did not. And our next door neighbor has the best top of the line. What are those things called?
Those generators that as soon as the power
It's
kicks
part of
on,
the
they go down.
house. Yeah.
It
No,
didn't work out too well for them, unfortunately.
we had a
Stuff down here just don't work in that cold. It's not designed for it. You don't see it. So that's really what the test was here in Texas was, uh, you're looking at a situation that hasn't happened here since what, the 80s, with having the frozen rain.
well, normally you have that and it's like a day or two. It's not like
Yeah,
6 days, and it was like storm after storm.
yeah.
No, we had a turkey frying pot that we stood outside with
Mhm.
propane. Her daughter made homemade pasta, and it was like, yeah, it was cold. Have you heard about the Mean Arms roller delay 9mm bolt and barrel? It's like the CMMG radial delay system because it's compatible with the mil spec AR upper.
I have not seen that one yet. Um, I'm obviously very, very familiar with the radio delayed, and I'd really be curious to see it now, actually, because I do believe CMMG has a patent on the radio delayed. So if it's working similar to that, I'll be really curious to see it.
Yes, air cop is definitely an issue. Most of their board has resigned over that. Well, also they had to take their board member spaces offline. I guess when people could get internet connection, they were just sending them death threats.
Mm.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. These are
Oh,
donations.
thank you very much. I feel bad about the Air Force jokes. No, I don't.
No, it doesn't. He's back in Texas now. Hopefully, you got your patches. What do you think about the Romanian Dracos?
I have not had the opportunity to mess around with them yet. Romanian guns, unfortunately, tend to be the lower end of quality. They tend to cycle, but the accuracy is really, really touch and go with them. That particular model, again, I have not had access to yet, but just my overall impression of the guns coming out of Romania, they're very, very hit and miss.
Oh, Logan wants to know what your favorite cigar is.
Quite frankly, my favorite of all time, I'm a Romeo and Juliet Cuban. However, the main cigars that I smoke, I have a Dominican Romeo and Juliet, and I also have a La Gloria Cubana. Those are my two favorite ones right now. I also do like to get some good robustos when I can get them too. Some of the Romeo and Juliets I'll get will be robustos also.
Yeah, like when we were in Cabo for our 20th anniversary, we were supposed to be in Italy, but
Mm.
Italy was closed because of COVID. He found Cubans, and he was in the humidor, and I was like, what's going on? Like, why is he's in there for so long? He hadn't touched anything. And then finally I went in, I was like, are you okay to like not
Sensory overload.
have what you want? He was like, I just don't know what to pick. I just don't know what to pick.
I inherited my love for cigars from my father.
Yeah, he has special occasion cigars too. Tad on Donor Box, thank you. He says, glad you survived the Siberian Texas style. Yeah. He was at a store and saw a Springfield St. Victor in 308 and a Wyndham Weaponry 308. Which would you choose for an AR-10, or do you have a better option for around 1200?
Well, Wyndham, I would prefer over Springfield, just because of the sheer years of experience that those guys have, and they do absolute beautiful work. There's nothing wrong with the Saints either. I know if I had the two side by side, I probably would jump on the Wyndham first.
And he says at the same store they have a Glock 37 and 45 gap. Should I grab it before it disappears, or is it even worth having a 45 gap, or track down something like an S&W MP45 and 45 ACP that's actually to fit the human hand?
I actually like the 45 gap, and that's what I have sitting next to my bed at night. I have a G38. It's an excellent cartridge. For some reason, the ammunition is not as available. It's one of those ones that's better to have when you have these ammo shortages because there's less of them out there. Um, as much as I hate to say it, I probably would go with a 45 over it for no other reason than ammunition availability. Um, the 45 gap, I believe, is a better cartridge than the 45 auto. It's really a modernized, and it's a souped up, and it's a well, it's modernized. If you look at the overall diameters and you look at the performance, the 45 auto cartridge has a lot of wasted space in it. It's oversized. Uh, it's not efficient. You got 5 grains of powder and all that space that's in there. Where the 45 gap is just a much more optimized and also with modern propellants. But unfortunately, it just doesn't have the popularity or the ammunition availability.
And he says he has a statement that Texas needs to fire our moron of a governor.
No,
Oh, I knew you weren't
oh
gonna like
no,
that.
this is one of the best governors that we've ever had. This was he was the first one who was attacking everybody who was screwing us over.
I don't think people really
Oh
understand
no,
ERCOT. Like ERCOT, we'll just do this very, very quickly. Texas is the only state in the country that has their own power grid, and it is a private organization that can't be governed by the state, which is a problem. And so there was nothing that our governor could have done about the situation other than be very pissed off, which he was.
I come from New York where we had a scumbag and a dictator for a governor. Everybody, I absolutely love Governor Abbott. He is truly for the people of Texas, and I hope to see Governor Abbott run for president.
Chris, should I leave the gas rings on a SIG 516 bolt or remove them?
The only benefit of those is ease of assembly. When you take the gas rings off, it's just more of a pain in the ass because the bolt doesn't stay in the unlock position when you want to install it. There's no negatives to it at all. Leaving them on there, but the positives are it's easier assembly. Many manufacturers do put gas rings on them for that reason only.
Is the Gen 5 40 slide the same dimensions as the 45 gap slide?
I have not measured the two of those, so I really couldn't tell you. I can definitely tell you that the Gen 5 is definitely thicker than the Gen 4, but I have not measured them. If you go on Glock's webpage, you can see because they give you the width and the dimensions. And you'll get all that information right off their website.
Hamish on Donor Box, he said, for the sanity fund. I think I lost mine last week for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well, when you get
I
that
s-
power going off and on, and
yeah.
then trying to rush to get showers and water and do dishes and cook, and then trying to hopefully,
Sometimes it would just come on
yeah,
for 30 minutes.
it was a pain in the
You have
ass.
4 kids and you're like rushing to you're like running just to make a hot pocket. Let's see. Okay, this question is effects on CZ getting government contracts since they bought Colt. We have a video that's going to be out this weekend that's going to be discussing
Now you give it
that
out.
stuff. Huh?
Now you told them. We were going to tell them originally.
No, I said I would say. I just said we wouldn't talk about it during the
Oh,
chat. I'm just saying to Brian, your question will be answered this weekend. I realize the M18 commemorative edition doesn't have the bottom screw like the commercial one for optic mount. Is that normal?
I have not seen the M18 one. One of the interesting things about the M18 commemorative is it also has the tan controls, which I would have thought it would have had black controls because that's what they are right now. So I guess I'm sort of curious as to why the M18 commemorative doesn't have the updated parts. I'm not sure because I have not seen one. I have a P320 M18, which I don't notice that issue, but I have to really take a look at it. But that's one of the things that really got me really thinking about the new commemoratives was I just was expecting different. I was expecting it to be more of a modern, what they're issuing now versus what the original ones were, which the original M17 commemorative was.
What's your suggestion for an AR-10 bolt carrier group?
Whatever you can find, for the most part. Um, There's a lot of good ones out there. Landtech is good. Microbest is good if you can find them. So is Toolcraft. There's not really too many bad ones out there. You get some of the more expensive ones, like the Knights, which are outrageous. LMT is probably my favorite, but if you have a forward assist on your upper receiver, it doesn't have the forward assist notches. Years ago, I used to get Armalite AR-10 bolt carrier groups that were made quite well. The reality is, right now, it's whatever you can find.
I've got a Tromix 450 BM 16-inch lightweight carbine gas. Can you recommend a buffer spring and buffer weight for the rifle and uh, carbines? I think it's supposed to be carbine stocks. I have extended carbine receiver extension from Tromix also.
It's sort of hard to give you a buffer for that because I don't know how it's gassed. I would start off with a H, and if you're seeing your cartridge cases ejecting at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, maybe drop in an H2, but I wouldn't go above an H2. It's very difficult because when you're looking at commercial ammunition, it's not like a military rifle where, okay, this rifle is utilizing M855 ball or M855A1, so we're going to have a gas setting for suppressed and unsuppressed using that ammunition so we can actually optimize it. Then you can do it, and you can have a perfect system. Well, unfortunately, the ammunition is so in the commercial industry is so far across the board with different chamber pressures and port pressures. It's very difficult to make something that works with everything. You just can't do it, especially in 5.56. So unfortunately, a lot of it is you got to go out and see how it's cycling to be able to look at it and say, okay, this is what I need.
Let me give a little bit of update on books that are supposed to go out. All single books have gone out except armor's manuals. Armor's manuals had to be shipped in, and obviously with a week out
Mhm.
of weather, that delayed them. I just got my first round of armor's manuals. Please, 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 please be patient because I'm getting emails ever since now I have connection. I'm getting emails multiple times a day. Like even right now during the chat, people are emailing me and saying, "Where's my order at? Can you check on my order?" It's going to go out, and you're going to get a tracking number when it does. And some of you have already received tracking information because I was trying to stay ahead of the curve and go ahead and get those labels printed out so that they can go out as quickly as possible. The first round of bundles will be heading out this weekend. So please, please be
Yeah,
patient.
we just pulled the first set of armor's manuals this afternoon. Were shipped.
Yes. And he's got to sit down and sign every single one. And then some people have very specific inscriptions that they want in them. So they will come. Just hang on. Hang on to your guns and ammo. It's coming. And I know a lot of you have emailed me too asking me for them. I can't sell anymore just because I really do think I'm literally down to maybe 1 or 2 left, if even that. So I've counted 8 million times, and just so that, I have enough. I don't want to, risk those going out or risk selling them and then having to cancel it. Scott wants to know, how can you be contacted to get information on an early Colt SP1 serial number under 1200? You can email me at hbartachi@smallarmsolutions.com. We do that 7 days a week. We just ask that you make a donation to the channel, and then you can email me whatever photos or whatever that you need.
Hey, Brent.
He also does phone conferences as
Yeah,
well.
I've been
He
doing
actually
a
just
few of
had
those
one
recently.
yesterday.
Yeah, some of these things are just much easier to talk over the phone as than me trying to write a novel in an email.
Do you think Colt will bring new AR-15 to the market under new ownership soon? We have a video this weekend that I'll address all that. I have an LE 6940 that I want to make more a SCAR type A. What kind of BCG should I get?
Get yourself a fail zero. All those used UCT Chemtech. UCT is fail zero. So that's the nickel boron bolt carrier that was used in that. That finish was on the entire bolt carrier. Actually, the entire gun was in UCT, and then it had the tan color spray painted on it.
Do you think Ruger will create a 50 cal RPR?
Obviously, I have no inside information on that at all, but I would doubt it. I don't think that it would be a decent seller for them. Especially with ammunition these days and the ammunition cost. 50 caliber ammunition was expensive enough before we had any kind of a problem getting it. Now, even up.
Carrie wants to know if you've had any problems with 7.62 by 39 and the XCRL. Mags seem to be a failure point back 10 years ago.
Interesting you're asking that is because that is exactly what this video, not the one coming up on Saturday, but the next one is on. It's on the XC. It's on the not the XCRL, but it's on the 7.62 by 39 AR platform, where we talk about the magazines and all those issues, and I go over the magazines very very specifically. If you were to go with a new Duramag, you will not have any problems at all. Um, Ammunition, you may need to mess around with your gas valve a little bit because there's such a difference in ammunition. I tested four or five different kinds of ammunition, and even though we had a standard and a suppressed setting, I had to use additional suppressor settings or additional gas valve settings to get them to work with certain kinds of ammunition that were light on chamber and port pressure. But you'll see in the video, you'll see a lot of full auto with the AR-15 in 7.62 by 39. If you are to stick with the new Duramag, Two Products Defense Duramag 7.62 by 39s, even and also the D&H Tactical, you won't have any feeding issues whatsoever. Though they have finally took care of that issue.
Thoughts on stripped AR lowers? Best, worst, 80%.
Well, for the most part, they're the same. Unless you get something that's a factory seconds where somebody screwed something up on it, the you don't often run into issues with lower receivers. Um, Again, unless you're getting ones that were not machined properly. Go with go with Palmetto Armory. Go with Aero Precision. They're awesome. The 80%, as long as you have a program that works properly, um, that certainly is fine. But there's not a lot of stress on those lower receivers, and there's not a lot of precision to them, unlike the upper receiver. So you can pretty much go with anybody. But if I want to buy lower receivers, I have quite a few of the Aero Precision, and I have obviously bought LMT. But again, at this point, it's really what you can get.
What is your impression on the mini barrel and any plans to get one?
Which one?
BERYL.
Oh, the barrel.
That's what I said was barrel.
It's barrel, not
Oh,
barrel.
see.
I will be getting one of those. Well, I talked to Michiko. We have tried over Ozark Firearms. He's going to be sending me a barrel carbine as soon as it becomes available. He just got a barrel pistol in 5.56. He offered it to me. I'm not interested in the pistol. I'm interested in the carbine. So as soon as he gets one of those, I will have a video on that. So I think I'm going to hold off on giving you any opinion on that until I actually get one in my hands. As I said, I have not had the opportunity to take a look at one yet.
What is the difference between a Colt CR AR-15 and a Colt LE AR-15?
The LE was, from 1994 to 2004, it was the LE models because Colt has three different product lines: law enforcement, military, and commercial. So the LE series had the band, the pre-band features that were available for law enforcement that were available. You had to have department letterhead and so forth. After 2004, the sunset, they still up and ban. Colt did not offer updated rifles in the match target line. So the LE guns that were sold from law enforcement distributors, and those were made available to the general public through the LE distributors. Colt finally decided to get rid of the commercial line and go an LE line and combine it with one because now there's no bands, at least not now, at least not yet. So the CR is basically the commercial rifle that has all the pre-band configurations or post-band configurations, whatever you want to say. They have all those evil features. So that was basically the elimination of the LE and the commercial line and going with one carbine line. Now, basically, the only difference between the LE and the commercial is full auto.
Can the shooting hobby survive if ammo availability and prices continue to go as they are going?
Well, let's keep in mind here, availability is because of supply and demand. Cost is because of demand. As I've told you, that the cost of ammunition has not gone up. This is unfortunately dealers who are screwing two-way people to make a profit because of supply and demand. They are not paying hardly any additional costs. There are some costs that have gone up because some of the material costs have gone up for ammunition manufacturers. But what you're seeing really is gun manufacturer, gun dealers, and sales places who they're getting it and they're jacking the prices up because of supply and demand to make money. Um, it's hard to say that there is no ammo shortage. They're making more ammunition than they've ever made in history of commercial ammunition. It's people are buying, people are hoarding, and then you have dealers who are jacking the prices up because they can. That's unfortunately what the reality of it is.
What do you think of the ATF and Tommy built T-36 fiasco?
It is a fiasco. I think it's bullshit. I have yet to hear of anybody who built a Tommy built rifle who's converted it to full auto. But this is how ATF justifies their existence. Technical branch, and they're causing difficulty for manufacturers and for people. It's their way of getting guns registered is well. This is what I view as negative. They just basically want to, they will eventually confiscate them if they're not corrected. It's caused a great hardship on Tommy Built to offer the new new receivers that are ATF approved, and of course they're charging $250 to people. They don't have a choice; they can't do it for free, and they're giving you, they're taking a loss on it, so all their customers can get their guns, in a configuration, and the ATF's not going to, confiscate them, and people lose money on a very, very expensive rifle.
Guys, don't forget to hit the like button. Do you think Glock will update their 45 gap Glocks to Gen 5?
Who the hell knows? Glock right now has been, uh, as I said, the Glock 40 calibers. That was, I had just learned of that. There was never any kind of a major release of it. So that 40 caliber came out of Sao Paulo. That's why it came. So I imagine, you know what? I don't even want to speculate. I have no idea what's going through Glock's head. They're still concerned primarily with their military LE contracts, which is going to be 9mm, giving you basically the same things. They're not really updating much. For as far as what caliber is going to come next, I have no idea. The 40 caliber came out of a necessity for an LE contract, and it was rather large. Sao Paulo Police was worth them doing it. I don't know what's next.
Will you be getting the new LMT mid-length upper?
I will be having a Estonia rifle coming to me. It's extremely difficult to get anything out of LMT, as you guys know, and it's no different for me. I don't work for those guys. I'm not on their payroll. I don't get any commissions. I get nothing from them. I'm just a fan and somebody who worked for them in the past. So I don't have any easier time getting stuff than you do. So I hope so.
I think he has a harder time getting stuff from them,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. I did talk to Carl about a week or so ago. We're looking at potentially doing a video on the LW Lighter Weiss Rifle Company 499, because one of our viewers here just got a whole setup with those and offered to us for review. Carl was the one who built most of those guns, and he knew Paul very well, so I talked to him about getting the information to do that video, and he said he will get me as soon as he can a Estonia rifle. So I am looking forward to that. But the rest of the stuff, like I said, it's just I have just as hard of a time getting them as you do.
Yeah. When we first started our channel, he was writing manuals for LMT, and he had the New Zealand rifle, and he knew that they knew that he was going to do a video on it. And it was one of our very first videos, and it actually was a very good video, and it was like going quickly, like the viewer, and we had 5 subscribers. I mean, like we were just starting out, and it went kind of viral, I guess, in a way that,
New Zealand got pissed.
yeah, because they said it was because there's photos available and everything, but they didn't like that Chris knew as much as he did, and that basically everyone could see that what their rifle was,
Yeah, so
and that
they,
kind of a technical platform. So ever since then, it's been a little bit harder for
yeah.
him to get stuff from LMT just because he does know all the stuff, and I feel like they get maybe scared providing that to him so that then he can provide that knowledge to everybody
Well,
else.
I think New Zealand didn't like the fact that it was left out. It was against their contract or whatever. And of course, I was working for LMT at that time, so there it got all complicated. Um, it just ended up being what was it, a year later before I was able to actually do a video again. For I got the okay from LMT to do it after they made all their announcements. So New Zealand couldn't say anything any longer. Estonia, that's going to wait until Estonia is happy. Actually, Estonia must be okay with it now because LMT did their own video for Firearms blog where they went over their Estonian rifles in great detail. So just a matter right now for me getting my hands on a rifle to do for you guys.
What's a good 6.5 Creedmoor AR?
There's lots of them. I have to say the CMMG Endeavor was an awesome rifle. It was a sub MOA gun, half MOA gun. One of the first ones that complete rifles that I messed around with was a Core 15 6.5 Creedmoor, and that was sub MOA at 1,000 yards. We actually had that one at 1,000 yards. My go-to is my LMT MWS with a 24 inch or 22 inch by 4 inch, one or the other barrel, which is a half MOA gun. There's a lot of good ones. That's a really good caliber. I definitely recommend you go with a barrel, to minimum of 20 inches, preferably 22 to 24 inches.
I have an FN 308 and Norma Mag, my stock cracked right behind the bolt. Any recommended fixes?
Wow. Other than contacting FN directly to see if they offer a replacement, I don't know. I'm sure there's probably people out there who do custom stocks, but yeah, bolt actions really are not my thing. I don't do too much with those kinds of stocks. I'm more of a military type, but I would start with contacting FN to see if they offer those stocks. If not, they could recommend somebody who does have them.
Do you have any experience with Elite LTT Beretta 92?
No. Now, Beretta's one of those companies I have a very difficult time getting anything from. Most of my Berettas are coming from viewers these days, for as far as being able to do reviews on.
Someone was asking about that too. Do you get most of your review rifles from other FFLs, or do viewers send you firearms as well? And if so, how does that work?
My biggest supporters, our FFL Brandon in the gun room. He has actually bought guns for me to review. Then he has sold them on his in his shop. So Brandon has probably been one of my key. The
And
other
a gun
one,
broker and stuff
yes,
like that.
the other one is Michiko, Ozark Bear Arms. He loans me guns on a regular basis as well. So those are two of my biggest supporters, and I get a good number of guns in from viewers for me to review. It's a very simple process. They contact Heather. We get the FFL to them so they can send the gun. So our FFL, we pick it up, we do the review, and then we send them back.
I know that there's a lot of local people that have offered to bring guns and things to us, and it's just not something that we do, or that we're necessarily very comfortable with doing. Um, it's a long process to review a gun. It can take 3 months for him to get it back because I think a lot of times we see a video and we don't realize what goes into that video. And even if you look at some of the range clips of him, you'll see him in different elements of weather and different outfits. And because when we had ammo, he test fired a lot, and then we do tabletop, and it's not an easy, oh well, I'll just come to the range with you and we'll fire off a gun and you can
Yeah.
borrow it and have it back. Or yeah, it's more of a lengthy process.
There's ATF issues with it also. For as far, basically how we do it is those guns, when they come in to our FFL, I fill out the 4473s, so I legally take control of it. And then the gun, it goes back to my dealer. He gets the FFL and it goes back. So we need to make sure all of the legal, we dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. So we make sure that we're 100% legal with everything. So that's another reason for doing it the way we do.
Michiko seriously belongs in the AK Hall of Fame. The wealth of knowledge he has is truly a gold mine. Well,
Absolutely.
Chris actually sent him the the PSA that we had done a video on. So you're gonna be able to see that his take,
Yep.
which should be interesting.
Michiko is a very incredibly kept secret in this industry and in the media.
Joey on Donor Box, thank you, Joey. What is it about wounds from rifle bullets that make them so much more devastating and effective than wounds from pistols? People talk about hydrostatic shock and nauseum, but experts like Marty Feckler say it plays no roles. What do you say? And why are rifle bullets so much better at killing things than pistol bullets?
Well, first off, I spent 10 years in forensics myself, plus defense contractor. I've seen more dead bodies than wounds than I care to say. And pistols, we're looking at 9mm 40, 45, 9x18 Makarov. The sole purpose of pistols is to poke holes for people to bleed out. They're the actual destruction of tissue with a pistol, because you have such a low velocity and you have such different masses of tissue. They are not reliable, especially military use. Military use, where you're restricted to full metal jackets. This makes it much worse. So basically, a sidearm, its sole purpose is bleed out, unless you're fortunate enough to hit a bone and break a bone where you're able to disable somebody. Rifles, on the other hand, you are delivering massive amounts of shock, and hydrostatic shock is one of the major ones that causes that. Hydrostatic shock, if those of you who aren't familiar with it, if you're familiar with taking a rock and throwing it into water, you see the ripples. That's hydrostatic shock that's displacing all that water. When you try to imagine a bullet striking a body at Mach 2 or more, and you figure all the liquid that's in that body is having a explosion, and that's what blows up, makes, for instance, 5.56 more effective on a human target than a 7.62 NATO, because we have much more velocity. So when that bullet strikes, you're having that much more hydrostatic shock. Plus, you have with a 5.56, you'll have the bullet will actually come apart. It'll splinter, creating massive, multiple wound channels. Where you take a 7.62 by 39 and a 5.45, as well as a 7.62 NATO, those bullets do not come apart; they blow right through. The 5.45, what makes that more effective than a 7.62 by 39 is that bullet is a very long bullet, and as soon as it strikes, because of the center of gravity, it starts to rotate, it starts to tumble, and it's that tumbling which actually grabs a hold of the tissue and causes damage. Where the other bullets are very much likely to blow right through, but you are still transferring a significant amount of kinetic energy into that target. So it's sort of in a nutshell. That's how that works. So if you look at a small bullet that's going subsonic, you do not have nearly the hydrostatic shock, which is why hollow points are used in handgun ammunition, because the only way to stop a target is to destroy tissue. The hollow point, by its expansion, a lot of times the petals will actually, as the bullet spinning into a body, those petals will grab a hold of the tissue and it will tear the tissue, causing damage. Where a full metal jacket, you can get a little bit of hydrostatic shock and it can push liquid, and it can actually slip through. I've seen bullets where the bullets have struck the body and the tissue it's spread the organs apart, and the bullet slipped right through. I've even seen that. Then again, I've also seen a 38 special that a guy shot his wife in the head with a Sun Nose 38, and the bullet bounced off her skull from a direct hit. So I've seen
Well,
a lot
that's
of
a happy
I've seen a
story.
lot of very strange things over the years. And I've seen occasionally, I've even seen people kill with 22 long rifle. Most of the time, 22 long rifle, you're literally hitting somebody in the back of the head. You hit them anywhere else, you're literally going to piss them off. Which is why for self-defense, minimum is 3/8 to 9mm. Anything lower than that, you have more of a chance of just pissing somebody off than you do actually stopping them. But that's sort of in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it, but that's sort of
And
what
for
it is.
anybody who's new to the channel, he was a forensic firearms examiner for over 10 years. So that's why he knows a little bit about how that he has some of these stories.
Yeah.
That was a happy story. He tried to kill his wife and it failed. Do you have any experience with Delton ARs?
I tried. If you all recall the buying ARs on a budget, the two-part series that I did, I had contacted Delton on numerous occasions trying to get a rifle to review for that series, and I couldn't get anything from them. Delton, if I do recall, they're the ones who have this supposed wonder finish that needs no lubricant. I've heard about it, never saw it, But I did try to get some Delton rifles for review, and I was unable to. So unfortunately, no, I've never had the opportunity to take a good look at them.
A lot of questions about ammo. Unfortunately, he's not. Yeah, we've kind of beat that dead horse tonight. And a lot of questions about CZ and Colt. That video will be out this weekend. If PSA put out a smaller solutions novelty lower, what would you want for selector labels?
I am very conventional, safe, semi-auto.
Would a Glock Gen 4 double recoil spring work in a Glock Gen 2?
No, it's first off, it wouldn't fit. Second of all, if you look at the overall diameter, it's nearly double the diameter, so it wouldn't fit in the slide. And also, the Gen 4 double recoil will not fit in the Gen 5. The Gen 5 is longer.
What's the worst AR-15 brand you can think of?
Back in the early days, probably Olympic. That was probably one of the worst, and I saw a lot of those overseas. And there was a time Bushmaster was putting out some complete crap. Those I saw overseas where foreign militaries had bought them. I remember going to Chile where they had bought, I don't know, probably 2, 3 dozen of them, or at least they had 2, 3 dozen of them in their armory. And I had seen shit that I had never seen before. I had seen where they had buffer retainer pins broken right out of the front of the receiver because they were drilled wrong. I saw receiver extensions that were upside down. I saw parts that weren't torqued down literally at all. Bolts that had all the locking lugs break right off, like they were never even heat treated. The same thing with Olympic arms. I wouldn't know how somebody could sleep at night, selling that to an army or a police force. I was going to get them killed. But overseas, those were the worst two that I've seen. Commercial is very different from military contracts. It's first off, it's a lot easier to make a semi-automatic only than it is a full auto, and also the larger quantities that are produced. These smaller companies don't do the testing like a Colt or LMT or an FN. So they don't even realize their shit doesn't work until they get over there in the middle of the testing and find out that the gas tubes are bending within a couple magazines because they're made wrong, or carrier keys weren't torqued down properly. You're getting gas leakage, or the front pivot pin or front taper pins or roll pins, work their way out because they weren't done properly.
Do you have any opinion on the LaRue 6.5 upper?
No, there's a very specific reason for it. LaRue, I cannot get guns from. The last SHOT Show I was at was a couple years ago. I had asked them, if I could get T&E guns. They said they had no way to send T&E guns out. So I'm not going to go out and spend $3,000 to do a review that I may make $40 on. So,
I mean, 40 is a lot, Chris.
yeah. So
that might be over like 3 years.
If somebody wishes to send me one in to review,
YouTube revenue is not really very good.
I would love to do a review on one if I could ever get my hands on one.
Yeah, we don't take sponsorships, and YouTube doesn't pay us. We are completely funded by our viewers. So
please consider being Patreon members. We could really use the assistance to keep us bringing you content.
Is it better to use a small primer or a large primer in a 6.5 Creedmoor AR-10 rifle?
Well, I think it's a large primer anyways, unless the cartridge cases are made both ways. I'm pretty sure they're only offered in large rifle primers.
Would you recommend a 357 SIG as a self-defense, home defense caliber, or is it overkill?
Oh, no, it's an awesome caliber. That is an absolute incredible caliber. You're basically putting the energy of a 37 Magnum into a compact semi-automatic pistol. Oh, absolutely. That would be it. Awesome. The only problem with those is as a home defense in the dark, you touch that trigger off, it's going to light your room up, and you're going to lose your night vision real quickly because you do get a lot of unmarked propellant with it. But for as far as defense and being a defense pistol, that is an excellent caliber. Can recommend it more highly.
Now, we stopped using PayPal about 2 years ago. They're anti-2A, so if they even know that you're doing anything that has to do with firearms, you will lose your account. We use Donor Box. I just popped that link in there again. But yeah.
Yeah, we certainly don't fault company, people who do use the sponsored videos. If everybody wants to has to make money a certain way, which unfortunately I think it does take something away from you when you do it.
Yeah.
But
I just got into a heated conversation, email exchange with one company um, over this last few days. I won't say who, but they essentially wanted a hard copy of our video. And I said, not no, but hell no. And I was like, what would make you think that you're allowed to have a hard copy of our video? And they were like, well, Chris contacted us for, a review item. And I'm like, yeah, he would do that, but we don't provide sponsorships,
it
and
happened twice
you
actually.
can't take his image and use it. It makes us look like we're taking money from you guys and making a commercial, and we don't do that. And so if he talks about your product in a video, then people will respect it a lot more because we are not getting a check for it. And that's, there's channels that are doing it and they're in a way better financial situation than we are. But I believe integrity is everything. And I believe that his integrity is everything. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to do a YouTube channel, because he was being forced to sell ad space in magazines that he was writing for.
Well, channels also that these channels actually go ahead and buy viewers and buy subscribers too.
Oh, yeah.
And we will not do that. Every viewer that we get and every subscriber, that's earned for as far as we're concerned. We're not going to go out and buy those to boost our numbers.
And you see channels that skyrocket out of nowhere in order to make it so that their videos appear in a filtered search quicker. It's lack of morals and integrity. And our channel will always be based on morals and integrity.
So every subscriber, that's all earned, every single one of them.
Yeah, we won't say what channel, but there is a gun channel that does it. And if you look at those numbers,
Yeah, they don't add up.
and if you look at their videos, some of those videos have higher numbers than other ones, and it's because they buy viewers. Thoughts on the Scar 20s? Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of info on them currently.
Basically, it's the same rifle with a new stock and a better barrel, a little bit longer handguard. It's basically the same rifle with just a longer barrel, and it's more expensive. I haven't been able. I don't get guns from FN. The only two FN rifles I have here are guns I bought in my 17 and 16, and I have no interest in going out and buying a 20 when I've got the 17. But yeah, it's just a much more expensive DMR version.
I love that you post on BitChute. You know what? I'm not as good about posting on BitChute as I probably should be, but I do try to get over there and post. Their platform for posting is, hopefully they'll change it at some point. I'm sure they will, but the reason why is because you literally have to be right there at your computer while you're uploading. And if you were walking away while it's still uploading and you don't finish and hit that process button, it's all gone. You have to restart it from the very beginning. So while I'm working and editing videos, that's why I'll try to, remember to have that up on the side. And even if it just sits there 30 minutes or an hour without hitting that process button, it'll be gone. You have to restart it. So it's a little bit of a pain, but I'm trying to get better about it. The Glock video went on BitChute. Adnan on DonorBox. Thank you so much, Adnan. He says he doesn't have any questions for tonight. Just wanted to provide some support and wishing you and your family to be safe, especially with everything going on. Thank you so much, Adnan. Clayton on DonorBox. God bless the Bertocci family. Say a prayer tonight that Governor Cuomo goes to prison from upstate with love.
That man is a dictator, and he has never, ever been held accountable. I will be shocked as hell if somebody finally does hold him accountable and he has to answer for his bullshit. He's the reason why I'm in Texas, because of everything that he's done and made my profession illegal in New York State.
Did we do this one?
Yes.
Okay. Thoughts on NGSW program guns, more specifically the Ammo Sig, Textron, and GD have come up with.
Well, SOCOM has a very different need than the regular Army does. And when they became SOCOM, when basically all special operations came under the SOCOM umbrella. You had Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force where you had probably 40, 50 different guns. Those of you who are familiar with the Mark 23 SOCOM pistol, that was the first SOCOM or naval surface warfare uh, firearm. That whole part of that was to first off replace dozens of pistols that were in there. It was also a pilot program to see how the the all the branches were going to work together. But they do have very different needs, and they have the need to be able to work outside of normal Army procurement because normal Army procurement they're interested in the full green machine, not necessarily what SOCOM is doing. So it's very critical to have program guns for Naval Service Warfare Center and for SOCOM. And SIG seems to be a really big part of that these days. SIG has really stepped up their game to become the company to try to beat right now for as far as new weapons for the U.S. government.
Thoughts on ARX?
I have one. Unfortunately, they're no longer imported into the country. It's an excellent rifle. It only has one deficiency for as far as I'm concerned, and that's the trigger. The trigger is awfully heavy on it. I do have a video on that where I go over everything in great detail. We were hoping to see the ARX coming in 7.62 NATO, and it just hasn't. That was made for a specific Italian military customer. I'm not sure if we're going to see it because, unfortunately, the ARX series was not popular for Beretta. It didn't go as well as they were hoping, to say the least. I don't know if they would risk investing the money to build the parts that needed here for a 308, considering that the 5.56 didn't do very well. So, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see it.
Okay, guys, well, we got to shut it down for tonight. We got to pick up a child from work. But thank you for joining us. I'm sure we will be back next week.
Thank you. And again, please consider being Patreon supporters. Thank you.